Welcome to Beyond Rockets. Hope you're having a great day. My name is Clark Dunn and I'm your host. Get ready to enjoy some awesome conversations from Huntsville locals about cool work they are doing right here in the Rocket City. You can connect with us on social media at Beyond Rockets, and if you're interested in doing a podcast yourself, I'd love to hear from you. You can visit my website, beyondrockets.com today, or connect with me on LinkedIn at Clark Dunn. Sit back and enjoy this episode of Beyond Rockets.
Everything I liked except the way she talked to me every day.
This episode is sponsored by Yellowhammer Brewing. Yellowhammer is a local craft brewery serving Huntsville for the past 14 years. They are known for their premium craft beers like their T-Minus and Rebellion, but what you might not know is they also offer spirits, wine, seltzers, and non-alcoholic drinks. Next time you stop by their location, try one of their seasonal cocktails made with the Gemini Bourbon or the Yellowhammer Vodka, or try this year's big hit Pineapple Punch Seltzer. You can find out more information about Yellowhammer Brewery by visiting their website, yellowhammerbrewery.com, or visiting their tap room located at Campus 805. Well, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Clark. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited. This is, we met, I guess, going on a year. I guess it was like last April, or maybe it was last March.
No, I remember. So we met in a bar.
Yeah.
Like all good stories start, right? And it was in March.
Okay.
Like mid to almost end of March.
Yeah.
I remember that because of some of the key events with my business. So that's just why I remember that. But you and your family were doing a pub crawl, essentially.
We were doing our first Beyond Rockets brewery crawl.
That's what it was.
And there was like 30 of us all wearing my logo on their t-shirt.
Yep.
Came into Inner Space. And I think you were talking with my uncle, and he was like trying to explain what I do and what the business was and what Beyond Rockets was. And I walked up. And
that's exactly it.
And that's kind of how the conversation started. And then a few months ago, you reached back out, I think after like a LinkedIn post or something came out probably. And then here we are today.
That's
so I'm
right.
excited that you're here.
Yeah.
Before we kind of dive into, what this last 10 months has looked like since you've kind of made this career change,
Sure.
Talk a little bit about, your 20 plus year career in the Army and kind of what prompted you to want to join the military and then kind of what that journey looked like.
Yeah, sure. Well, what prompted me to join the military? Well, I'm a little older than you, but some of the audience might know from the 80s, G.I. Joe cartoon series, right? That was the era I grew up in and always had an affinity for the military from that, quite frankly, because the adventure aspect of all of it, right? The little kid in me. And then, as you come into adolescence and you get into high school, things change, right? Interests change. But there's always that little in the back of my head of, what am I going to do? Oh, I'm not going to join the Army. I'm going to go into business, right? It's kind of where my head always was. And you graduate high school. I go to college, graduated from Indiana State University in Terre Haute, Indiana, with a business administration degree. And from there, out of college, got my first job with Charles Schwab, an investment company. At that point in time, it was in Indianapolis, Indiana. And, I just had those moments, of where you're sitting in this big cube farm, you stand up in between phone calls, you stretch a little bit and you can see the windows and you can see outside and it's summer. Right. And I'm like, it's nice out. Cube farm. I want to be outside. I don't want to do this, but then you struggle with, am I going to give up this good thing? What am I going to do? The Army kept coming around in my head. And this is before September 11th. And so the Charles Schwab path was ending, and I went ahead and just rose my right hand and joined the Army Reserves at that time. Went to the base training, all those things that you do. Came back, got another job in Indianapolis afterwards. Kind of the same thing, right? Working in a cube farm. Certainly kept pulling at me. It's like, this isn't what I want to do. And then, so I put in the paperwork after a period of time to go active duty. So that was in the works. And then September 11th kicked off. And by January of 2002, I was at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. And that's where really, if you're going to put where did things start in the military? That's kind of the starting point, truly. And then from there, 21 years, 14 days later, got more gray hair, lived in many different places, deployed several times to 4 deployments actually to the Iraq and Afghanistan theaters.
Wow.
And over the course of all that time. And but predominantly all of my time was in the infantry. There's, as people may know with the Army, at least the Army's career path, you stay infantry, but you do, as you get a little older in the Army, senior in ranks, you come in and out of different job assignments that take you from the infantry world, maybe put you in they call it a broadening assignment, which is trying to get you more well-rounded within the Army. So as you move up the ranks, you become a broader asset for the Army in general. So, but ultimately though, when I retired, my retirement date, September 1st of 2022.
Okay.
I retired as a major in the Army, an infantry officer is the retirement side of it. And that's the Army.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I mean, I can certainly go way deeper with all of it, but for the sake of conversation, that's the broad strokes of it.
Yeah. And so, I mean, while your time, that 20 plus year career in the Army, had you visited Huntsville prior with the strong Redstone presence here?
Sure. So to answer that, I'd always kind of heard of Huntsville as you're going through the Army, and you learn of people doing assignments at different places. And some people say, well, I was at Redstone Arsenal. Yeah. Where's that? It was Huntsville, Alabama. This is inquisitive questions. You learn about it that way.
Yeah.
And then I was in one of those broadening assignments I just referenced in 2016 through 2020, I guess it would have been. That assignment brought me to Huntsville 2 different times for like a week each time, right? And each time I was just like, okay, Huntsville, here we are, heard about it. It's kind of nice, nothing bad about no bad feelings about any of it. That was the first trip. Came back the second trip, and I was a little bit more intrigued. Had more time in the schedule that trip to visit the locations, the breweries,
for sure.
Of course, the Space and Rocket Center. But you get to feel Huntsville a bit better. It always stuck in my mind of like, man, this is a nice spot. Maybe this is where we go after Army's over and we need to retire somewhere. So it was always kind of a second choice. First choice for us was Colorado Springs, because I had been stationed in Colorado Springs. And, the mountains out there and the outdoors is phenomenal.
It's amazing.
Right. And so we're just like, well, if we're going to retire anywhere, where would that be? Let's go to Colorado Springs. Right. So that was always the plan. And then as you get closer to Army retirement, you're doing your due diligence with planning for your exit, because it's going to happen. It's just a matter of how hard it hits you. Right. And that just is dependent upon you and how well you prepare for it, because it's going to happen either way. So we took a trip back out to Colorado Springs, family vacation, just to ensure it's what we still wanted, right? Yeah. We get out there. The outdoors is, of course, what we still want, but the cost of living had really increased since we lived there. At that point, we're like 3 years removed from living there. House prices were just really way more than we could pay. Yeah. Because we didn't want to be house poor. I wasn't going to have a mortgage. Yes, could I pay or could I afford a $500,000 mortgage with Army retirement? Yeah. But I'd be house poor and then be forced to have a job. I didn't want that. I wanted more freedom, which is why a big part of why I was leaving the military. No more constraints, right? I can do what I want, go where I want. So, after some soul searching with the wife and I talking about where we want to go, we ruled out Colorado Springs for the cost of living reason. And then again, Huntsville was always in my head, mentioned it to my wife. And as we did with any other Army move, except this one we got to pick, we took a leap of faith, visited Huntsville as a family for a day or two. And long and short of all of that, it just made sense to land here because of the opportunities here in town. You're going to start over somewhere. You need to at least start fresh in a location that's going to give you the best opportunities for success. Huntsville does that in the career path wise and in the cost of living wise, and ultimately military benefits. Yeah. Right. It's fantastic
And so You've been here since 2022 or so?
Yep. So we moved here June of 2022.
Okay.
And been here ever since, been in the same house ever since. So we moved here, house goods got settled, all those things. And then the kids got into school in the fall in August. And then I went to a career fair here at Von Braun Center. It was this space and missile defense symposium. And not really looking for a job. Just literally, I told my wife, I'm going down there and just throw resumes around to see what happens. Yeah. So I didn't know what to expect. And, but I just did it very casually, but professionally, and landed a position with a local defense contractor here in town, and started that in November of 22. And then started doing that job for a while. And, it just wasn't fitting. And it's not a negative comment to the organization I was working with, the contractor. It wasn't them, but it was the environment and where I was working, which was not the same as the company that employed me. And it just wasn't suiting me. And so I felt bad about quitting. But so I, again, soul searching with the wife on that one, talked with my bosses about it. And ultimately they supported my decision to quit. And that's what it was. It's a quit. Yes, you leave the company, but ultimately everybody's quitting. You leave a place, right? But you're always quitting, but people don't like to say the word because it sounds bad.
Yeah.
No, you're quitting. But, so I can say that comfortably, but my immediate supervisor and supervisor above us, very supportive. And so I gave them a 2-month notice.
Wow.
Because ultimately the timing for me worked out where I had my hands pretty deep in a project that we were working on, and I wasn't going to leave them in the lurch. And I said, look, I can get through the project, which was about 2 months out. Right. But after that, I'm going to walk. And they're like, yeah, cool. But thank you for giving a 2-month notice. That's nuts. No one ever does that. And I'm like, well, you guys were gracious enough to hire me, and I gave you my word about being here. And unfortunately it's not working out, but I'm not going to just walk away and leave you guys in a bad spot. So we worked through those things, worked through the project, and that helped them find a replacement for me, which I was able to do a left seat, right seat ride with that person. So there was a smooth transition.
Yeah.
And it worked out. Right. And that was great because that just showed that just communicating with your supervisor and your boss, you don't have to leave a business in a bad light.
Even if you are quitting.
Because when you leave a business and when you leave your podcast job, whenever you do that, you're quitting. Everybody hears quitting as a bad thing, has this bad connotation to it. So they try to ruse it with different words and stuff. Just own it. You're quitting. Yeah. It's not a bad thing. It's what you're doing. Right. And you're moving on though. That's the important part. Quit, move on.
Yeah.
Keep moving forward.
Go to something new.
Figure
out what is that thing that will fulfill what you were wanting that other job to fulfill.
Right.
And so 10 months ago, you kind of made that transition.
Sure.
Talk a little bit about what that transition was like and kind of those, maybe that month or two leading up to that transition. Because I would assume it didn't just happen.
No, nothing ever just happens. And if people that know me know I'm a planner, my wife calls me a hyper planner. So all this was kind of, at least on the counter for a while, looking like it was going to happen. But, so I quit that job, and then that was in the summer, that was May or April of 23. I took the rest of the year off and just was dad, was a husband, and my wife was trying to finish, well, not just trying, she did, finishing her, second college degree, which is in geosciences with a concentration in data analytics.
Wow.
So by me quitting, I was able to fully referee the kids and it enabled her to fully focus on wrapping up science degree. Right. And she did. She graduated in November of 2023 from Southern New Hampshire University. Maybe you've seen their Their commercials. It's a legit college. It's a legit program. I fully support anybody that wants to do it. It's worth your time and effort, especially for military spouses, because they took care of all of the red tape paperwork that goes with the GI Bill and all those things. So it set her up for success. And so while she's concluding all of that, I remember this pretty clearly, because last December I was out running or walking or something, and I just had those thoughts of like, all right, Courtney's almost done with college. She is now 2024. What am I going to do? I got to get myself together. What's that going to be? And I've always wanted to I've always enjoyed positions in the Army where I worked for myself. Yes, I still had a boss that I was accountable to, but I had free reign to get the job done, to get the mission done, in working with my teammates. So what would that be in the civilian world? You know, best thing I could come up with is being a business owner, right? So then next question, what's that? What would that be for me? I'm not wise enough to have some trinket that I can sell or some technology that's going to change the world. I'm not there. I'm not that. But I know I can lead people, and I know I can be accountable, and I know I can, manage a budget and whatnot. So that starts, start getting me
closer and closer to what because if you're able to eliminate the things that you're like, I'm not this, I don't want to do this, I don't like this,
right?
I like this, I like this, and I like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so at that point you would kind of said, okay, here's sort of the direction I want to go. And that was February, March of 24.
Yeah. So yes. So in August of 23, I sat through a 1-hour veterans job. I guess you could say job placement, but it's an entrepreneur podcast, and it's called veterapreneur.com. So it's veteran and entrepreneur put together. So I sat through that, and that was in August, and I just sat through it, took a lot of notes. I'm like, that sounds interesting. Tabled it, shelved it back in my head. Again, now we're in December, trying to figure out what I want to do. And that started coming back around in my head. Right. So I looked them up again, and they were having another webinar in January, I guess it would have been. So I sat through it, and the exact same webinar was live, but not pre-recorded. But I had my notes from August, read through my notes, followed my notes along with what was on the screen. I'm like, this is all identical. Like there was nothing negative I smelled from any of it. So ultimately, Veterapreneur helps veterans, and it can help spouses as well, who think that they want to get into business, and even more so think that they may want to be an entrepreneur. They help you sort that out. So you go through their 10-week program and it's all free. There's no catches. It's the only cost is time that you put into it, which isn't much.
Is this all virtual too?
All virtual.
Okay.
All virtual. So again, the website is veterapreneur.com. I have them to thank for everything we're talking about today and going to talk about today. And shout out to Chris Hale and his team who came up with this program. But they run you through it, and you get assigned a franchise coach. So I had an individual coach, and he helps you do you do a personality test to really nail down where your personality is. And that's going to help springboard the coach into guiding you through the entrepreneur franchise possibilities. And so we do that with my coach, George, and you go through a lot of questionnaires, and we nailed it down to like 7 different franchises that might be a fit for me. I wanted to work for myself.
Okay.
I wanted to control my time, because time's most important to me. We're all time starved, and I'm a dad of 2 little boys. The military took a lot of my time back, and then when I was working that job after the Army, it was taking my time, which rightfully so. Yeah. But I wasn't controlling my time like I wanted. So I wanted that more than anything. And then I still enjoy helping people. And my soldiers that might be listening, former soldiers out there, they'll tell you, I enjoy mentoring them in finances and controlling their futures and whatnot. So also I wanted a job that kind of let me do something like that. Right.
Mm.
And ultimately lets me help people. And we whittle it down to 2 different franchises. Schooley Mitchell was one of them. And it always kind of kept coming around as I'm doing my due diligence and research and whatnot. It always kind of seemed to naturally flow back to me on the screen. And I chose Schooley Mitchell. And then from there, you go through the franchise process with Schooley Mitchell and other franchises. But so it's still a job interview. You're interviewing the franchisor to ensure it's what you want and what it's been advertised as.
Yeah.
And they're doing the same with you. And again, it's all virtual. It's all through the computer now. It's 21st century, right?
Wow.
And so they run you through the questions of who you are and why you want to do this and so on and so forth. And it was kind of an easy fit for both parties on each side of the screen. Nothing seemed, there was no I gotchas. I was always looking for those I gotchas, right? Because in business, there's no such thing as a free lunch. And it was a really, Schooley Mitchell, the franchise and the process is a straightforward, transparent process. So you get through several rounds of discovery with the franchisor, with Schooley Mitchell. And ultimately, you end up speaking with Dennis Schooley. He's one of the founders. He's still very active in the organization, which was a selling point for me because he does support the franchisee. It's not one of these franchises that, you pay money to, and then they kind of say, here's our operating manual. Good luck to you. No. There's an entire support network there. It's still there. And that was a big selling point for me. But I remember this distinctively, and I was talking with Dennis one-on-one, potential franchisee to the owner. Dennis, I've got all my notes. I've checked you out on all these podcasts. I've done my due diligence. I've talked to a few franchisees. Everything is consistent. I don't smell, my spidey senses say everything's good. What's the catch? What is the catch? I know how much I got to pay you. I know what the franchise fees are going to be. I know what the support network is. What is the catch? And he's like, Jason, there is no catch. You're going to be waiting forever if you're looking for something. We're not going to nickel and dime you to death. What you've learned about Schooley Mitchell is what it is. It'll be your business. We're here to help you. We want you to succeed. It's on you to succeed or fail. And you sign that actually in the franchise agreement. One of the sentences is you agree that success or failure is dependent upon you. And, the potential for financial success lies on you. Well, I like that. I'm good with that because that means it is on me to win or lose, right? The franchisor is not breathing down my neck for the monthly franchise fee. Hey, you haven't made a quota this month. Where's the money? None of that's there, right? It's just, there's no pressure from the franchisor. So I was like, all right, Dennis, I'm sold. If you'll have me, I'll have you. And he was like, yeah, we'd love to have you. And so essentially that was the high five over the computer screen. And then, the formal business side of things occurred, and that roughly now is in the first part of March, and then March 15th of 2024, I signed the franchise agreement. And in April, we began the franchise training that you do with other franchisees. And again, all virtual. Beauty of the 21st century and the internet. You don't have to do this stuff in person anymore.
And your time is more valued.
It is valued and maximized.
Yeah, because you're not having to travel. You're not having to fly. You're not having to get a hotel. You're not having to get a rental car.
Precisely.
All you have to do is go to your office and turn on your computer.
And I did. And also, it saved time also saved money.
Mm.
Because everything you just listed, I didn't spend a dime on.
Yeah.
Which would have came out of my own pocket in the beginning, right? So that got me started with Schooley Mitchell. And as you do in any new venture and adventure, you've got to learn it, right? And you're drinking from the fire hose. I mean, it's all simple business rules and simple processes that we do, but I'm an analytical person to my detriment a lot of times. And I needed to learn every word on every paper essentially so that I could be very confident and competent when I am out there trying to get business, and I can talk to it, calmly and clearly.
Yeah.
So it took some time to get to, which is why I called you a couple weeks ago or whenever it was and said, all right, hey, Clark, you remember me from the beer, from the brewery? I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Awesome.
Let's do the podcast.
For sure. And so, I mean, over the last few months, you've grasped the knowledge that Schooley Mitchell has kind of like is instilling in you to be successful.
Oh yeah.
And you understand that the success is measured by what you're able to accomplish. Like they've given you everything that they can give you, and you figured it out, and now you're ready to go. Yep. For those that maybe are listening, and myself included, what is Schooley Mitchell?
Schooley Mitchell, absolutely. We are a cost reduction company, right? We are for a business, it's business to business. For a business, we are your vendor watchdog, right? So what we do is we help companies keep more of their profits by helping them reduce the expenses they have with vendors they use, right? So we are consultants. We aren't trying to sell you anything. It's not what we do. We're actually trying to be a resource for you. We are a resource for you. We are the profit keepers for you. Mr. or Mrs. Business Owner, you just have a leap of faith, as I did with Schooley Mitchell, have a leap of faith with me in our process, and we'll show you at no expense to you how we analyze your vendors, right? Now we have 14 different categories that we consult to. The number one is telecom, but that's not number one, meaning it's the top category. It's just the first one in our list, but it's the one that everybody has a phone bill, right? Yeah. So it's just the leading one. That's all. But if you have a telecom expense that you think is causing you to bleed by 1,000 cuts every month, let us take a look at it. It's not going to cost you anything. Our service, and what we're going to talk about predominantly here momentarily, is this is a contingency model that we do for you for the business. And on average, after we do our analysis, and if the business owner says, yeah, let's implement what you've come up with, on average, we save our clients 28% in their expenses. We are not pushing vendors on you. We are working with your incumbent vendor to get your rate reduced because they don't want to lose you, right? We will present other vendor options to you when it comes to the value report time, which we'll talk about that process here soon. But you're in charge. We are independent, objective, and vendor agnostic. We're just giving you black and white analysis numbers, just much like a CPA would do, right? They're going to show you your numbers. You're going to make the decision on what you want to do. So you don't lose. And so, Clark, if I was presenting to you our analysis, one of two things is going to happen. We've either found you savings or we haven't. And you're in charge of every go or no-go decision with that. So if we're going through the analysis and you're like, you know what, Jason, I like what you guys have come up with. This is a lot of work, but it's thank you, but no thank you. I don't want to move forward. Okay, that's fine. Hurts my heart a little bit because I know, and that this isn't being cavalier. I don't know of another way to say it. I know you need our services because of really the paperwork in front of you. But if you don't want to use this, that's fine. um, we're not going to send you an invoice because you tell us no. Again, it's a complimentary service. But we are with you for a period of time because we do have to sign a service agreement to do that analysis. So you can say no and again, we don't implement the strategy, but we'll continue at no expense to you to analyze that, in this example, the telecom bill that you have. We'll stay on top of it for you because we know that you as a business owner don't have time to stay on top of it yourself. We have our own proprietary software that enables us to take your invoices and look back at all of them and to determine, obviously, a baseline of what you have been spending. We can identify hidden fees that you've paid, right? Whether you really realize it or not. And we have same tools and specialized software that allows us to stay on top of the market in that expense category. Those three items equal leverage and clout for you, right? So if we had an agreement and you did say, yes, Jason, let's implement the strategy you came up with, then the way it's going to work and the way it has already worked up to this point a little bit anyway, is we are negotiating with your incumbent vendor and two other vendors that we've reached out to across the United States that are comparable to the vendor you're currently using. And they'll compete against each other and give us an offer, I guess, to present to you to say, hey, look, this is what we can do for you. And so you'll choose one of those three, right? And you can stay with the incumbent one. But we just negotiated on your behalf the best pricing and best technology and tools that you may need for your business, right? And it's more specifically in your expense category, telecom just being one of them. We know that as a business owner, you don't have time to do all that. You also don't have the special tools. You don't have the resources to do the negotiating. That doesn't mean that you're not capable of doing it. We know you're capable and competent to do so, but you're time constrained and you're emotionally invested in your business. And that's where the vendor that you're using also kind of has a leg up on you, right? So if you, Clark, you were to call your Verizon bill rep, it doesn't have to be Verizon, but it's just who always comes to mind, and it's nothing against them. But you call them and you're like, you know what? I've been with you guys for however long, and I feel like you guys, there's a lot of fee creep happening. My bill just seems to keep rising. Can you do something? And they'll be like, yeah, you've been a good customer. We can hook you up. We can help you out, right? Here's the best rate we can give you. And they make you feel good, and they still kind of own you a little bit because you're on the phone with them. You're emotionally involved. So they still give you they lower your rate, but they don't go as low as we know that they can go for you. And then that's why we're valuable to you or to any business, is because we become your middleman. We're your think of it in the sports terms. We're the sports agent. You're the team, you're the player, and the telecom vendor is the team. We're negotiating the contract for you with the team to get the best results for you. So instead of you calling telecom vendor and them saying they're going as low as they can for you, we call them, do it on your behalf. We have a letter of authorization from you that lets us do it. We have all those legal things in place to make all this transparent and legal with all parties. And we negotiate it and we get it down. And if you have a contract with a vendor, we can potentially get a rewrite and a re-rate with that contract as well, right? So all of that equals savings. Again, we're trying to help you reduce your costs and find savings for you. And some of that savings is in future savings, right? Because we've negotiated a contract, we've got it lower. Now we know what the delta is with what you were going to pay versus what you are. So there's future savings there as well. If there has been money that's needed to be retrieved because you've been overcharged, we get that back for you. So those two numbers right there equal savings. And that's where our fee structure comes into play, which I know is what everyone wants to know what it is.
Yeah.
Because everybody's going to pay something.
Everyone wants to know the cost.
They do.
How much is this going to cost?
And here's what it is. Again, the analysis is a complementary analysis. You don't pay if we don't find you savings that you have us implement. We can find the savings. If you don't tell us to go get it, well then, we're not going to invoice you and there's nothing to be had there. But we're going to share 50% of the savings over a period of time. And that period of time will just be dependent on the business and who I'm talking with and what they're comfortable with. But typically it's a 36-month or a 48-month service agreement. So we'll explain how all that goes here in a moment. But so we'll share in that savings, 50% share in the savings over 36, 48 months. And ultimately think of it like this. I can't make a nickel until I find you a dime, right? And so I find you that dime and now I keep a nickel and you keep a nickel, right? But what's great about that is that nickel didn't come out of your budget, didn't come out of your monthly operating bills. It came out of the savings that we've found for you. So it's pure profit for you. You take that nickel as a business owner and you do what you want with it, meaning you put it back into your business and hopefully you put it back into your people, right? And your processes and not just your pocket. Because if you make your people happy, your business is going to flourish more, right? So it's pure profit. You're not going to get taxed on it. It's money you already were going to pay or had paid. We've just gotten it back for you. And the beauty of it is, now here we'll go into the process, the timeline of all of it. So I mentioned the analysis report. We call it a value report. So we do our analysis. I come back to you, Clark, with our initial value report, and we go over it. We'll go over it with my analyst because the analyst who did the telecom review, they are the experts in that field. My telecom people strictly stay in the telecom space. The people that deal with waste, they stay in the waste space, right? So they're not hopping from, so that team member is your team member now, right? So you're going to talk to them and they want to talk to you because they do all this work. And so we'll get on a Zoom and you'll get to see the person and we will deep dive the value report. We'll have, the overview of things and then we'll get into each different expense category. And in the telecom space, as we continue using it as an example, we will get into the vendors, your incumbent vendor and two other choices. And she's going to explain why each one has offered what they're offering now. What is the benefit to you in your business? And it doesn't have to be the lowest cost option for you. Yes, the goal is to find savings, but it's also to have business process optimization. So sometimes we've had clients that are like, you know what, this is the cheapest option, but this vendor over here I'm familiar with, they're a little bit more, but I know that their processes are way better. I'd rather pay a little bit more for this quality and have that versus here. Hey, that's fine. We're not pushing on you. You're choosing. We just presented it to you.
Yeah.
So we'll go through all of that. And it becomes decision point. And you're like, and that's the go, no go part where I referenced earlier. you're in charge this entire time. And you're like, all right, Jason, let's implement this. I'm right. All right, cool. We will. So we implement that particular strategy for telecom. And we start doing all the work behind the scenes while you go back and start running your business. And over we can set this up however you want it, but the best scenario is we do quarterly audits. So every 90 days, I'm going to come back to you with an updated value report that shows you that we just analyzed that telecom expense these past 90 days, right? And there might be a change. Okay, well, what is that change? The market has fluctuated, which has caused this expense to happen here. But don't worry, we've caught it. We're going to work with your vendor to see if it's something that they can mitigate, or is it just an industry-wide bump? Or I guess I should say, or maybe that vendor still try to throw an extra fee in, try to be slick about it. Well, we caught it, right? So there's our value there, is over 90 days while you're running your business. And I probably should have set the stage with this. Let's say we signed a 36-month agreement. So over 36 months, every quarter, every 90 days, I'm like, we're going to come back to you with a value report. It just compounds on itself, right? And shows you that we have kept on top of that telecom expense. There's been no change. The vendor's being honest. The savings is still there. You don't, as a business owner, don't have to worry about whether or not you're being taken advantage of by your vendors when you see your monthly invoice. You still get to see your monthly invoice, but we're just deep diving it for you and taking care of it. So your CFO, we'll be a valuable resource for your CFO, a great helping hand. Your COO, I'm sure would be working with a CFO, and we'd be able to, they would want to probably just be in the know in the process of how all this is working. And again, I alluded to earlier, our technology. We have the proprietary software that allows us to stay on top of the changing market, right? That's where we're providing knowledge to you, and security, which is probably the most important of our 4 pillars, the other 2 being time and money, are value to you. You run your business, we stay on top of the changing market, we're controlling the chaos for you while you continue to grow your business.
And so you mentioned it a little bit earlier, just like it's business owners. Is there an ideal client or ideal service industry that you typically are talking with, that you typically like to work with, or are you casting a broad net?
So it's multiple, or a couple answers there. Our model, this model that I've explained, again, it's the contingency model, meaning we only get paid out of the savings we find for you. And it's a relationship. It's not a one-hit wonder, as we've already kind of talked about. But yes, this model works really for any industry. If you're a business owner, big or small, our model will work for you. My passion is helping the medium to smaller companies, just because I know they're working harder and they're a little bit more resource constrained, and thus they're more time constrained, right? And budget constrained. We can help mitigate that for them, right? And be a resource. We are your outsourced cost reduction department, right? And so it works for any industry. My passion is the smaller to medium-sized business owner who's working hard and trying to get ahead of the big players out there. But none of this is a shot at the big players. We can help them too, and I'd love to help some of the bigger companies here in town. Again, it's really just a leap of faith, and our process is transparent. I'm transparent. But me, here in Huntsville, I see our manufacturing community here. It's very big and broad, as well as the medical community. I know without a doubt we could, we at Schooley Mitchell could seriously impact them in a positive way and obviously save them money, but reinvest that money into your business and your employees. Give your employees a little bit more, right? I'm sure we're seeing already here, it happens every December. The round of layoffs starts happening, right? Companies start trimming the fat at the holiday time. And where do they start? They start with their employees. Well, that's terrible. Why? What about your business processes? Have you analyzed them? Where can you trim the fat on those before you cut an employee and ruin their holiday? We can be a resource that helps you do that and enables you to not cut employees at Christmas time or when tax season is coming up. Reinvest what we find for you back into your employees and your business processes,
Yeah.
And that's my passion there too, is help. That's the other way I get to help people now. And that's kind of my message with that is let us help you businesses so that you can help your employees have a not just a better month to month, paycheck to paycheck life, but let's give them a livelihood. Let's provide them a livelihood, right? With the savings we find for you. And this model and this business that I own here in Huntsville, we're playing the long game. This is the long game business for slow but yet continued growth. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast, and the slower you go, the more articulate you can be, the more targeted you can be, which is going to enable crisper decisions with your business, which ultimately, the trend line always shows, your business will be more profitable and successful. Your foundation is going to be more stable. We bring that to you, again, at no cost.
Yeah. So if business owners are listening or watching this, where can they make that first, that next right step
to meet with you and to talk with Schooley Mitchell about implementing what we have talked about today?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Well, there's many, I've got my social media and website presence out there, but to start anywhere, just go to, www.schooleymitchell.com/office/J-Fish. It's all together. On there, that's our landing page for the Huntsville office, for my office. And you'll see that, you contact me here stuff. You can go right to that. Seriously, pick up the phone and call me. I am one of the older people here, and I still answer the phone. I still listen to my voicemails. You can leave me a voicemail. You can email me. I will get back to you. Give me 24, 40 hours to get back to you. Because as we all know, email box gets full, but I'll get back to you. But I would ultimately prefer someone just to call me. We'll get it on the calendar. I will come to you because my office is my bedroom, right? This business allows me to work from home. So I don't have a brick and mortar location. I love coming to a business's location because I get to see the environment that they're going to talk to me about. I get to see the employees, get to quote unquote, get a smell of everything. Lets me help them better, right? And help because we will have a questionnaire that we'll have to go through. But again, start there with that website. I am a member of the Huntsville and Madison County Chamber of Commerce. I am a member of the Madison Chamber of Commerce. I'm a member of the Better Business Bureau. Just recently got the A+ certification accreditation. And I'm happy to say that they're now one of my clients as well, as of recently. And we're helping them with some of their expenses. We're in the very initial analysis phase of that, but they've taken the leap of faith to trust us enough to do that. And I'm very grateful for that. I'm also very new member here with the North Alabama International Trade Association. In 2025, I'm looking to get more of a presence with them. And just recently submitted my application for the local, we have many B&I here in town, and excuse me, just submitted my application to Referrals in Motion, and hopefully be a B&I member with them. So, but ultimately, where are you going to start to get a hold of me? Start at my website. My phone number, my office number is there. It's a virtual number, which gets routed to my personal cell phone, and my personal cell phone's on that.
Perfect. Yeah. And we'll have all that information in the show notes. So if you're watching or listening and you want to find out more, you want to connect, there'll be links to everything there. So you don't even have to remember the URL. It'll be right there in the show notes, and they can find out more information. But I appreciate you taking the last little bit. It was, it's incredible just to see that this journey that you've had in your career path, also just in that journey of, when I first met you to today.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking forward to the continued success you'll have here in Huntsville for years to come. And hopefully conversations like this will hopefully lead business owners that are watching or listening to reach out and find out more information.
Yeah. I not just selfishly from the business side of things. I mean, business is going to happen. It's not being cavalier, it's just being realistic, but I want to help. I genuinely want to help. And if we could get the sleeves up, I got goosebumps right here because I know what we do works. It's transparent. There's no funny business. It works. It's going to give you a competitive edge in your business processes and with your bottom line. And that's what we're here is to help you keep your bottom line. And I know we're closing out, but I do have a couple things I'd like to at least bring up, if that's all right.
For sure.
So the preponderance of our conversation today covered the contingency model, right? We also have a fee-based model, which covers the same categories. And I do want to read off all the categories here.
Go ahead.
But it covers the same categories. And the fee-based structure is simply this. If you're an existing business or someone who's wanting to start a business here in town, and either way if you're an existing business and you're looking to move locations and you need your current services moved for you, and oh, by the way, maybe during that move, you'd like to get them financially optimized for you, in an hourly fee-based structure, we can help do that for you. Help you move it, get it set up, get it optimized for you. And if you wanted at that point, our business agreement could be done. Or after it's all set up, we can move into the contingency model, right? But what that's doing and we do the exact same thing for a brand new business. Hey, brand new business, you need internet, you need telecom. Depending on what you're doing, you probably need some sort of software as a service set up, right? We can get that set up for you. We are going to control the chaos and take that off your plate for you. Again, it'll be transparent. We'll present how long we think the hours that we think it's going to take to get, X project done for you. But that is one of the other things that we offer. So that's we have basically 3 programs. That would be program 2. Third program, brand new as of September. And this really alludes to helping your employees out, right? We have a new program called the Preventative Care Maintenance Program. So what is that? And I'm gonna pull out I got some beer math here that I'll read off for the audience that alludes to all this. But because we are the largest independent cost reduction company in North America, we now have the ability to help those businesses that have medical expenses, insurance medical expenses with their employees, right? So what is this plan, right? It helps us and helps you reduce your employees' taxes, and we utilize those savings to provide better wellness plans and preventative care plans for your employees, right? We just help you work through the tax code that's been in place, I think, since the 70s that enables businesses to take advantage of the FICA taxes in this plan, right? So here's how this could look, right? And I'll kind of show it to the camera a little bit. This is the beer math fee structure. But so, for example, you have an employee and their gross monthly income without using our current program is just saying here is $2,916 a month, right? That's their monthly income without the plan. If they're on the plan, they're still going to get $2,916 a month, right? But here's the difference. Without the PCMP plan, their wellness benefit deduction is $0. But if they're on it, because we've helped implement it, because we're helping you, the business owner, take advantage of the legit tax incentive that's out there, they're now their deduction is $1,200, right? So they're actually getting to keep, instead of keeping $0 of their paycheck that was coming out in taxes, they're now getting to keep roughly $1,200 of that, right? So that's good for the employee, right? So now moving down to without the PCMP, the employee's net taxable income was $2,916. But it's now, if they have the PMC in place, their employee's net taxable income, it's now $1,716 versus the $2,916, right? So that's awesome for the employee, right? And then the employer's monthly FICA contributions without the PCMP is $223, roughly. For the if the employer is using our program, they're now monthly FICA contributions are only $131. So look, right there, you just saved some money. Mr. and Mrs. Business Owner. And then moving down without the PMC MP plan, the employer's wellness benefit fee is $0. But the fee that we would charge would be $35 to do it, right? The employer's net savings per employee without the plan, $0. You're not saving anything. But if you're using our plan, and again, we're going to help you work through all of this, right? It's a process, but it works. The employer's net savings is $56.86 or 80 cents, excuse me, per month per employee. So cumulatively, using our plan, what is that benefit for the employer annually? $681.60 per employee per month.
Wow.
That's winning for you and your business, right? You're saving. Versus not using us, you're actually burning money, wasting money, right? Leaving money on the table that's legally through the tax code and stuff there for you to use. So that's our newest program. Again, it's called the Preventative Care Maintenance Program. This, in theory, perfect scenario, if I had a new business owner, we can do this program along with the contingency plan that we've referenced. They can go hand in hand. And then we like to view all of this as like a project, right? Because really all this does fall into timelines and things that equal. It's kind of a very minimal project management sort of experience with us. But to get close to wrapping up for you, I want to, if I can, I like to do two things. I'm going to read off all of our expense categories that we consult to in the contingency space and the fee-based structure. And those are We have 14 of them. Telecommunications, credit card and debit card processing. We call that merchant services. Small package shipping, waste disposal, not just your big blue, waste bin out back. It's also medical waste, hazardous wastes. If you're a manufacturing company, I'm sure you've got, I don't know, paint waste and all those things, right? You're being charged a lot for it. We can help reduce it, most likely. Electronic logging devices, those little scan guns, right? That you use for inventory. Fuel expenses, not just gasoline, but diesel, the propane stuff, all those other sort of gas fuels that you use to run your business, right? You're being charged for that. So that was fuel. Uniforms and linens. Big businesses here that have that outfit their employees with a sort of certain uniform. You're being charged for that monthly, I would assume. We can help reduce that. Not trying to get you to change your vendor. If you want to, cool. We can work through that, but we can help reduce it. Facility supplies, less than truckload. I know that's kind of big here in town with all the shipping and manufacturing that's going on. Everyone's got some sort of software nowadays. So software as a service, right? We can look at your Adobe licenses, your Google licenses, your Microsoft licenses. One, see if you are what you're being charged for them, but also, are you using them? Right? This goes to a lot of our categories of what I'm about to say here. You might have a lot of devices or technology that you're not using and you've forgotten about it maybe, but you're still being charged for it. We can identify all of that for you. So we're not just trying to save you money. We're deep diving into your process and finding the rabbit holes that have lost items in them, I guess is a way to maybe think of it, right? Where you don't have to do it. Software as a service, compressed gases, office supplies, packaging and shipping supplies, break room supplies. We have, again, 14 cost categories here we consult to. If you're a business out there that wants to use this, you don't have to have all 14 of these. Just do one. If you only have one, we can just do one. We will need to have a meeting to see if we both qualify for each other, right? But that's really just sitting down and talking like we are and going through some questions. Yeah, I mean, again, on average, we save our clients 28% in their expenses. 80% of our clients don't change vendors. And I referenced earlier, let's just say it's a 36-month agreement. Should have said this earlier. At the end of the 36 months, remember up to this point, we were splitting 50-50 in the savings that was found. At this point, from month 37 to month 60, we continue to do that process I've already outlined for you. But now you're going to keep 100% of the profits. If we find some additional savings and we present it to you and you want to implement it, then that would start over again on that instance. But if that wasn't happening and we were in that next 24 months where you're keeping 100%, that's easy for you. We're not charging you a thing, So, so we're with you really for 5 years if you allow us to be there. And if you look at it from a 5-year standpoint, we're really not charging you 50%. If we're looking at it from a 5-year standpoint, we're only charging you like 30%. If you look at it again at 5 years. And I would like to close with a case study here. That I'm going to leave with you. But one of our clients was a large general contractor, and they were spending the following. This is what they were spending before we got into business with them. They were spending $60,000 and some change per year in telecom fees. Of that, $36,000 was in wireless fees. 24 grand of that was in the wireline services. Okay. Additionally, they were also spending $218,000 per year in waste disposal fees. Okay. That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of
That's
money.
a ton of money that you see it going out every month in your invoices, because that's all we need, by the way. We only need your invoices or online access. If you give us online access, it's going to be so seamless for you. It's legal and binding between us both. There's no way we can do any funny business anyway. We're just getting your PDF and your contract. That's it. So, so that's a lot of money that they're spending that they see coming across in their invoices each month. And they're just like, man, I need to stop the bleeding with this. How? I don't have the time. I don't have the resources. I don't have the energy. That's where we're the benefit and the value for you. So what was Schooley Mitchell's solution, right? For telecom, we analyzed their telecom environment and helped them facilitate a switch to VoIP services. And by doing that, that saved them $9,638 annually on their wireline services. To put that into percentages, we just saved them there 39% alone, right? That was the telecom environment. For their wireless expenses, we were able to negotiate lower prices with their incumbent vendor, which delivered to the client an annual savings of $17,000 and some change, percentage-wise, 47% annually. Okay. For their waste disposal, remember that was per year was $218,000 that they were spending. Once we analyzed their waste environment, we learned that they were using different providers at different locations, right? So by negotiating with one of the existing providers on a pricing package for all locations, we identified savings of $56,000, or the percentage was 25%.
Wow.
So in this case study, the total annual savings for both of those categories, telecom and merchant services, was a total annual savings of $83,210. That's money they were throwing away prior to us helping them, right? So in this example, we'll use if we were going to split this 50%, right? 50-50. So in this example, it's $83,000. So we'll just beer math it down to 80. You're going to keep 40 grand. I'll get 40 grand. And we'll continue to analyze and stay on top of these expenses, right? Now that 40 grand isn't coming all out at one time. Okay. That's going to be spread out over, if we had the 36-month agreement, it'll be spread out over that sort of period of time. So it's not like a hit or anything. But again, it's all money that you were spending already and we're going to spend. So it's not coming out of your budget. You're out of your bottom line. So you win with all of that, right? So I know I get long-winded. I was probably not as in sync with the process and how it all really works, like in the flow state of it. But ultimately, I'm Jason Fish with Schooley Mitchell, and we are the Profit Keepers. And love to have you as a client. But most importantly, I want to help. I'm here to help. In the military, I got to help not just my soldiers, but got to help the United States. In the deployments, you're helping the world in many ways. I now have a business that allows me to do the same for businesses. In my personal life, my wife will tell you, she's the same way. We love trying to find an extra penny in the budget, not spend any more than we need to with whatever we're doing with our family, right? I now have a business that lets me do that for businesses. So it's a win. It's all good. It's all a win. And I'm the only one here in Huntsville area. And as luck would have it, I'm the only Schooley Mitchell office in Alabama. And by the beauty of the 21st century and the internet, I can work across the United States. We just need an internet connection. I always prefer to do things in person, at least in the offset, because it's just the best experience for both of us.
For sure. Well, yeah. I mean, I enjoyed having you today.
Yeah,
I think I didn't know much about what it is Schooley Mitchell was and what it is that you do, and I think the explanation for me was amazing. And I think the people that are watching that might have the same questions that I would have had, I feel like they were all answered. Like I said, we'll have all the information in the episode notes. We'll have links to everything. So if you want to find out more information about Jason, about Schooley Mitchell, or any of the other services that we have talked about today, you can visit that link in the show notes. But I appreciate you being here.
Well, I appreciate you having me. And I think it's great what you're doing for the city of Huntsville. Beyond Rockets is a very clever name for your podcast. It paints a broad picture. So anybody can be on this, and hopefully you'll have me back maybe soon. Maybe I can share some client success stories, and I'd love to at least come back and share with you any clients I may have gained from the podcast. To lend credence to what you do, and I'd love to be able to support you in that manner. Right? Love to have a little fun partnership like this, if it makes sense for both of us. So,
awesome. Well, I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Clark. And this is for you to have. Basically everything that we've just talked about today. Don't try and read it all at once. But,
well, thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Beyond Rockets. Don't forget you can subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen, and on YouTube at Beyond Rockets. Be sure to follow me on Instagram at Beyond Rockets to stay up to date with new episodes as they are released. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed.